American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
2016, year of the snake. It's time for a change in the White House, y'all. Bring it. If you want the real deal, then you gotta get a real leader. Want a real leader, then we need a real man.
How y'all doing, folks? Welcome to the show. Click the share button. Let everybody know we are live. As you know, they do not like to let anybody know that I'm live. So, let everybody know we're live.
Socialist Sanders, that freaking Flanders, Army Rangers and the Navy SEALs, all staying strong with the art of the deal. If you like your rights and you love your love,
We're just letting folks come on into the room. Go ahead and click the share button when you get a chance. Just gonna let the folks get on into the room. Get past the Facebook censorship and shadow banning. Maybe they've seen it in their feed. They never give me. It's like, why is that not? Okay, all the comments, but I'm not getting any of the comments here. Wonder why. Interesting. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna read the comments this way. There we go, Lenny. Hello, Cindy. Hello, Peter. Hello. Oh, sorry to hear that. Diane, good to see you, Barbara. Peter said they just removed a March for Trump North Carolina group. So. And there's Betty Ann. Hey, Betty Ann, how are you? Make America great again. Make America great again. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Hello, Republican Eric over there on Periscope. Let's stop sharing that screen. I'm back. Hi, everybody. I'm back. I clicked myself off. That wasn't Facebook. That wasn't the deep state. That was just me, Suzzanne Monk, and bad clicking. So welcome. Hello, Diane. How are you? Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. Of course, Chris McDonald's probably popping in here at some point as the Monk. And Lisa, how are you? Taking care of sharing links and all kinds of stuff. And I want to always thank Chris McDonald because he has been with me, has been watching this show, has been supporting the show, has been being my monkin and sharing links and greeting patriots and liking comments and just doing all of that out of the goodness of his heart and appreciation for, this little tiny little cog in the machine of making America great again that I put on. So I just appreciate him so much. That's why I always mention him. Always, always, always. So Chris McDonald, love you, love our monkin. Now, I want to spend this hour talking about urban conservatism, what it means to be an urban conservative, and how, not more, how to be an urban conservative than what it means. I think we all know what it means to be a conservative, and we all know that there are different types of conservatives. There are, very religious and social conservatives, people who believe that we should use the government to impose a lot more of their personal social beliefs. I'm a little bit more, I think, more classical Republican, very limited government, very constitutionalist. I believe that my favorite amendment, I don't believe this, it's just a fact. My favorite amendment is the 10th Amendment. The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. We, the 10th Amendment, saying that we are the power. We, the people, are the power. Anything that they didn't write in this tiny little pamphlet is not the province of the federal government. Is not the province of the federal government. And nor prohibited by it to the states. So it's something that in the Constitution prohibits it being a part of the states. Like you're not allowed to all have your own currency. You're not allowed to have your own currency. Okay. For example, you're prohibited. The states are prohibited from doing that. But the rest of it, you want to be gay and get married, power, right of the people, reserved. That's why that passed. I some of my more conservative folks, more of my social conservative folks get very angry at gay marriage and it being passed constitutionally. But frankly, it's the 10th Amendment right here. The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. Your right to choose who you marry is based on the right of the people. People, that's the thing. Facts. So, I love this little baby. This is where I form my constitutionalism and my conservatism, from conserving this document, these liberties, and this nation that was built based on those liberties. So, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press. Unfortunately, what we have is a propagandist press now. We're stuck in a really bad phase of yellow journalism. It's very unfortunate. But, what are you going to do? Now, that being said, I know all of my red state folks who are out there in, Texas or Tennessee or the Dakotas or Utah or, all these places where they have a lot more Trump supporters. Okay. There are a lot more conservatives, a lot more Republicans. Republicanism is very common in a lot of these more rural, suburban to rural, or less densely populated, more working class or more labor class or more, ranchers and farmers and oil fields and all this stuff that's going on in the middle of the country. There's a whole bunch of red states. I live in a blue state. Right? I live in Washington, D.C. I don't even live in a state. I live in a district. I'm a district girl. I live in a blue district, what they call. And I came to this district from Chicago, which is an even more blue place. Even a more blue city than Washington, D.C. So, I like cities. This is the reality of my situation. I believe in the principles of constitutionalism and extremely limited government, maximum liberty of individuals. I believe in a strong defense. I believe in the enumerated powers. And I believe a strong defense, a strong border, many of the things that Trump supports. I believe particularly constitutional and important. And those are the enumerated roles of the federal government. Other things, not so much. President Trump has been one of the most pro-pot presidents in this sense, unlike many other presidents, unlike every other president. President Trump has truly left the marijuana decision up to the states. We're not having the same kind of crackdown we saw under, hey, Penny, how's it going? The same kind of crackdown we saw under previous presidents who would tout, oh, no, we're not, we support marijuana, medical marijuana, or, blah, 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 blah. But when it comes down to it, when they got into office, they actually continued to use the federal government to crack down on states that had legalized and decriminalized marijuana, and continued to put pressure of the federal government on those states. President Trump has actually not done that. In fact, President Trump signed the Farm Bill that legalized industrial hemp in this country. Something I personally have been waiting for and fighting for since I was 19 years old. 19 years. That will tell you something. So, now, as such, I'm a conservative. I'm what I consider to be a classical small government Republican. Some people might call it a libertarian, but I don't like the Libertarian Party. I think they're feckless. I don't think they've done very well for themselves. I don't think they are representing their values. I think they're too Ayn Rand style objectivists with this globalist ideology that, any free, we can have utterly free markets. We don't have to have any limitations whatsoever. We don't have to have any controls. We don't want to try to protect jobs for our own nation. Just whatever. This laissez-faire kind of situation. I'm not one of those capitalists. I don't believe in that kind of globalist laissez-faire capitalism. I believe in free market capitalism, but I also believe that we have to make sure that China isn't stealing our trade secrets, isn't taking products we build in the United States, taking them apart, reverse engineering them, and then selling them all over the world and costing our companies, our businesses, millions of dollars. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. And I appreciate when the government does something about it. Classical Republican, classical conservative. But I live in a city and I love a city. So this is what this show is about today. We're talking about how do you be somebody like me? Because as you all know, as many people know, cities are bastions of, Nick, he did. I'm telling you, he did support hemp. He did support the growth of hemp. He signed the Farm Bill into law. President Trump is the one who signed industrial hemp legalization in this country. It's just awesome. I mean, I literally have been fighting for that for my whole life. So now, as an urban conservative, as somebody who has those conservative values, who voted for President Trump, as people get really, you can't wear, do you wear your MAGA hat? Do you wear your MAGA hat out in the city? Aren't you afraid? Aren't you afraid to wear your Trump shirt out in the city? People are very nervous. They're very nervous. And they ask you a lot, and they're very concerned. It's very blue. Hey, Christina, how are you? It's very blue here. The debate might be on, Linda. I don't know. I'm gonna watch it, and I can't watch it in real time. I don't like Kamala Harris so much. I'm gonna watch it where I can mute if I need to. So I will catch up on that, and I'm sure others will as well. As someone who loves to live in the city but has these values, what I've found is that we need to do something different in the city as far as Republicans, as far as conservatives, as far as independents even. We need to be doing something different than what we've been doing, because the Republican Party up until now has been horrible when it comes to, hello, Marianne, when it comes to running candidates, supporting their values, representing the Republican issues. Yeah, exactly, Penny. Penny says she wears a MAGA hat everywhere. The Republicans aren't doing any of that in the city. The Republicans aren't doing it here. They were doing it even less in Chicago. So you have all of these urban environments, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, even places like Houston, in Texas, places in red states. The state is very red, but you still have that urban pocket that is somehow blue, who is somehow rife, more likely, rife with progressive values, with social justice and identity politics and all of this BS, and none of the give and take and discussion and debate and really trying to get down to brass tacks and issues, the coalition building, the reaching across the aisle, all of the things that good citizen governance should be about. We don't have to agree on a core set of values. We don't have to agree on every way that we want to move the government, but we do have to agree on a core set of constitutional principles. We have to agree that we're making a country together. This is how we agreed to do it. This is the handbook, okay? This is literally the agreement we made with each other to have a country and to have our freedoms protected. And when we support that together, when we support these common goals together, when we find other common goals, we win. We win on both sides. We win on the left and we win on the right, and we win in the middle. We all win. All of America wins when we reach together, when we come together and we find common ground and come together for the good of America. That's when everybody wins. Now, the Republicans haven't done that. The Democrats, to be fair, haven't done it either. What it seems the two parties have done, which is very maddening, is that they decided to divide up the country. And what they did is they said, you take the rural states and we'll take the cities, and you stay out of the cities and we'll stay out of the rural areas, and we'll just fight it out like that. And like there's some kind of agreement. Guess what? Over the last few decades, you've seen more and more encroachment into those rural areas by the Democrat Party. They haven't really held up to their end of the deal. And yet the Republicans continue to cede ground to the Democrats in these urban areas. So we have a lot of these urban areas: Chicago, Detroit, New York, DC, Baltimore, Boston, Atlanta. We can go on. LA. We can go on forever. That are entirely run by Democrats. They're run by Democrats generationally. In Chicago, I lived 27 years in Chicago. In Chicago, the Democrat machine, as we call it, the Democrat machine is so ensconced in politics there. There is no capacity really for Republicans to have any kind of power. At the state level, however, we've had Republican governors. Bruce Rauner was horrible. It was horrible. We called him duct tape Rauner because he had some commercial where he was like, "Oh, I'm going to fix Illinois," and he had duct tape. I'm like, seriously, dude, your commercial is you're going to fix Illinois with duct tape. Bruce Rauner, not a good Republican. George Ryan ended up in jail. Not a good Republican. We have some problems, okay, in Illinois about Republicans, which is part of what I'm talking about. We've divided it up in this way. And so we don't have this market of the best candidates, the best people who are representing the principles, but are willing to work with one another. Those folks get left to the wayside because we have a pattern of career politicians again and again, the same kind of politics, the same status quo. You stay over there in the city, we'll stay over here in the country kind of situation. Now, with Trump, for all the folks, and I'm going to say this to my little friend over here on Periscope, who doesn't like Trump, for everything you could possibly say about President Trump, you had to say one thing: he has changed what's happening in the Republican Party. He has changed drastically what is happening in the Republican Party. The Bush dynasty was about to take its third lap, you guys. The Bush dynasty was about to take its third lap in power in this country. And President Trump stopped that. He stopped the Romneys. He stopped the Bushes. He stopped these stodgy old Republicans that were taking this country in the wrong direction, that were taking this party in the wrong direction. They were becoming right-wing progressives, military-industrial complex guys, big pharma, big med, corporatism and not capitalism, corporatism, crony capitalism. This is what they were doing with this country. Thank you, Cheryl. This is what they were doing. And Nick, you're totally right. The unions. I hope more and more union members start to think for themselves instead of allowing big unions to think for them, and continue to take dues and amounts and use those on Democrat candidates that do not agree with the values of the membership. You know, we are seeing a seismic change on the Republican side because of what Trump has done. We're seeing a seismic change in the city. Something amazing is happening in these blue states. And I need, for those of you who are in red states, for those of you who are in rural areas, who, have a lot of Republicans in power, have always had Republicans in power, and you've heard about the big blue states, you've heard about those deep blue pockets. Oh, DC is so blue. When I moved out of Chicago, which is extremely blue, extremely Democrat, and I told everybody I was moving to DC, they're like, why? You're a Trump supporter. You're leaving Chicago because they hate you as a Trump supporter. Why would you move to DC, which is just as blue? But you guys, guess what? It's not. And that's what I'm here to tell you. There's something happening in the cities that is unique, and it's different, and it's a phenomenon that I think folks are missing. And yes, it's happening with small little conversations at a time. It's happening with these one-on-one little moments. It's happening at bars. It's happening at our favorite pub, Harry's. It's happening at these little places. These are the things. It's where we're seeing that divide that they have worked so hard, that the two parties have literally worked desperately to create, that urban rural divide. Oh, those blue crazy cities. You can't go over there. You can't wear your MAGA hat, you'll get beat up. You can't wear your Trump shirt, you'll get beat up. And none of that is actually true. No, there have been attacks. There are attacks actually going on even in some of these red areas of Trump supporters, so that's not anything new. But the reality of the situation is we're seeing on the ground some amazing shift in that animosity and division. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit in context of what I left in Chicago. When I left in Chicago, when my husband and I were forced to close our business because of the threats to our customers, to our business, they threatened us with bombs and firebombs and bricks and slander on the internet, et cetera, threatening our customers, those who might want to do business with us, that if they did business with us, they would in fact be targeted themselves by the group. So Penny, this is exactly right. I'm going to put this over. Trump is getting so many Democrats from the old Dem party. I agree so much. So, in Chicago, you have that generational Democrat machine thing going on, and it was certainly not an environment that you would think there would be a lot of Trump supporters. But your girl, Suzzanne Monk, in this hat, and often a shirt just like this, Trump 2016 shirt, my little Make America Great Again shirt with my Trump Pence sign, Make America Great Again 2016 sign. I would go out on the streets of Chicago and do what I would call one woman for Trump rallies, where I would stand on the street corner, not engage anybody. I'm not pitching Trump. I'm not yelling at people, whoa, Trump. Not doing anything. Smile, maybe say hi, have a nice day. Just hold a sign that says Trump and Trump care on the street corner. Now, some people were offended and they said mean things to me. Sometime this one lady, when I was doing the one next to Water Tower, I have it on video, it's on the internet. When I was doing my One Woman for Trump rally in Chicago, next to the Water Tower down on Michigan Avenue, this one girl was so mad in her car. She was driving by. She drove by and she's, F Trump. And then she'd turn around and come back, F Trump. She did it like 4 or 5 times. It was actually kind of hilarious. It's actually kind of entertaining. Not at all concerning in any way. But even in that deep blue city, you had some folks that would, as they would walk by, they'd be walking by and they'd give you the little thumbs up, like, I like your guy. Or they lean in and go, I like Trump too. Yeah, this kind of thing. Or they give you a nice hat. This is code for, hey, I support the president and I agree with you. A lot of folks, a lot more folks than you would think. That's why I kept doing these rallies. I did them because at the time it was impossible to get anybody. Folks were doing flag waves and gatherings all over the country for Trump. And I kept saying, you guys, let's do some of this we have a Trump Tower. New York was holding all kinds of stuff. It really kind of ticked me off. Because in New York City, at Trump Tower there in New York City, they would always have patriot rallies. Like all the patriots coming, the big patriots, a whole groups of patriots in front of the Trump Tower in New York. I'm like, we should do that. Everyone was scared. You couldn't come in. All the folks in Illinois out in the suburbs are like, oh, you can't come in and wear your Trump gear because you'll get beat up if you wear the hat. Oh. So we had a little power group, of somewhere between 10 and 50. At one point, I think we had a group of 85 for our big Trump rally, the one I held personally, Trump event that we held down there in front of Trump Tower in Chicago. So the March for Trump, actually, on March 4th. That was fantastic. So, we had a small but powerful group, but even in that very blue city, there were still folks who were willing to support the president. And I did those little rallies because getting people to come in from the suburbs were very scared. They were scared to do it. And they said, oh, you're going to get hurt. And I'm like, no, I'll show you. You won't get hurt. I'm going to do videos. So it's me stand on the street, on the side of the road, on the street corner, on the sidewalk with the Trump sign and my Trump gear and watch. I didn't die. And guess what? I didn't die. So I was totally correct in my assumptions and I got yelled at, but I also got supported and thumbs up and appreciated and high five. So, and that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to being an urban conservative. Being an urban conservative isn't like being a conservative out in the country where you can whoop it up and be like, woo. Your opinion is going to not be something that everybody in the neighborhood agrees upon. Everybody in your community isn't going to agree upon. But where you gain ground, where we gain ground as conservatives, where we gain ground as Republicans, where we gain ground as Trump supporters, is we are able, and this is sadly sometimes a lost art. Hey, Ray, it's good to see you. We are able to communicate, have a difference of opinion, and still agree to disagree, agree to get along, put down the political fight and be citizens, have a burger, have a beer, have a soda, have a fruit roll up. I don't care what you have, share a little something, find that communal spirit of American citizens, as one nation under whatever God or not God you want to believe in. I'm not trying to get into religion. My point being is that when we find that, and so sometimes you're going to have to, not get all mad every time you overhear somebody saying something really crazy about the president, or, you're not going to be able, every time you're talking to somebody, push back every single time they say anything negative about the president. People are going to say negative stuff. Sometimes it's okay to say nothing. Sometimes it's okay to just be like, that's your opinion of the president. That's cool. I have a different opinion. You don't always have to share your opinion. Sometimes you do. You find times to plant seeds. You find times to communicate. You find times to come together with individuals as a human being, defeat the leftist media narrative and the propagandist narrative, and communicate. And communicate openly with one another as human beings. That's where we make ground. And we've been making ground. I've been making ground right here in Washington, D.C. And frankly, I'm very proud of it because that ground is a lot harder to make in a city like Chicago where it's been generationally controlled by deep, corrupt, mafioso-style Democrats, a true Democrat machine that murders and manipulates individuals to get its way, and anyone that stands in its way ends up in the river or some sort of horrible. They kill a lot of people over there in Chicago because they don't agree. I'm just saying, stuff happens. Stuff happens. You might die of an aspirin overdose. You might park your truck on the side of the river and just jump in for no reason, and they find your body floating. Stuff happens over in Chicago when you disagree with the mayor a little too much, or at least when you disagreed with Mayor Daley. That was for certain. So here in Washington, D.C., what I've found is kind of a different vibe. And I want to tell you why it's a different vibe, because I think it's something important to understand when we are starting to go into these urban environments as Republicans, as conservatives, as Trump supporters. It's something that we need to understand when we go in. And we're in these environments, and how we can actually participate, make inroads, make a change, not leave these Democrat cities, these big cities totally controlled by Democrats and abandoned by Republicans. There's no reason that, just like we are seeing in the states, we are seeing folks stepping up in all the states to being delegates, to running for office. Marjorie Taylor Greene running for Congress, for example, Laura Loomer, Kim Klacik. Oh my gosh, so many people. I could go on a million years about all the great people that have been running for office and have taken up the mantle. And some of them, that's one of the things I like about Kim Klacik. She's literally doing what I'm talking about. She's doing that in an urban environment. She's doing that in a very strong Democrat constituency. She's not doing it in a nice, happy Republican-leaning district. She's doing it in a deep blue district. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think those candidates running in the deep red districts are great. And I love some of our candidates that are running in more red, R plus districts. I love some of them. There's some great MAGA patriots, some great Trump supporters, some great America First philosophy candidates in those races. But there's something special in my personal heart, my city-loving heart, about our candidates that run in deep blue, in D plus districts. And Kim Klacik's doing that. That's exactly what the kind of thing she's doing. And that challenging the status quo, that coming into an environment where you don't have all the benefits, you don't have all the, there's not the connections for you. In fact, you're going to have resistance. You're going to have resistance. You're going to have people say, why should I support you? You are blah, 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 blah. All the propaganda, all the misinformation. The Republican Party is such a horrible party. What has it ever done? Is this, all of it. All of it. And if you're black, you're going to get Uncle Tom'd and called coon and all these other things because you don't agree with the Democrat establishment. But let me tell you something. If you got just a little bit of a thick skin, and this is the secret. The real secret is this. And this is what our Republican Party, the National Republican Party, particularly in urban environments, doesn't have. It doesn't have a thick skin. It doesn't have any balls. It doesn't have a spine when it comes to standing up for our principles in the political arena, both in cities and in the country. So it's weak. Now, what happens when you go in an urban environment, into one of those big district, like the district, like DC? What happens when you go in and you start talking on social media with other people in your neighborhood? You go to an event, and you start talking with folks who you might disagree with politically. You might be racially different than them. You might be ethnically different. You might be different in sexual orientation, all kinds of things. You might be different. Look, just today, let me tell you what just happened. I'll just tell you about my day. My day was I had a fantastic day. I had a fantastic day today. This morning we went down into my neighborhood. Now I live in Anacostia, right across the river in beautiful Washington, D.C. I live in a historic neighborhood of Frederick Douglass and a historic Black community. Most of my neighbors are Black. I was at the event I was at today, one of probably 5 white people in a group of 60, 70 people. So and not even all of us, like maybe one or two of us at any given time. We kind of, we'll have like one white person, one red. We're going to have, you can't over token. It gets too messy. So, I'm just kidding. But this is the community I live in. And I tell you that because, for most folks, that would be a frightening environment to be a Trump supporter, to be a conservative. But here's the reality. It's not that frightening. And here's what it takes to not be frightened in that environment. It takes a little bit of thick skin. It takes a little bit of humility. Your feelings are not the most important thing in the world. I don't know who needs to hear that, but your feelings are not the most important thing in the world. Everybody agreeing with you is not the most important thing in the world. You know what's more important than everybody agreeing with you, with everybody sharing your opinion, of hanging out with people who only support what you support? Finding common ground. Finding something you agree on with somebody you don't agree on, other things. Finding some issue with your Democrat neighbor, but you agree on it. Guess what? You know what? What I've found living right here in this community, there are a tremendous amount of things me and my neighbors agree on. Okay. We want our roads to be in better condition. We want the city to stop penny pinching and, playing games and leaving things undone that they need to do, right? We want the city to be responsible for the tasks and jobs it taxes us for. You take our money, do the job, right? Take your money, you do the job. We all want this. We want responsible and effective policing. Let me be clear to say those both two words. We want responsible and effective policing. We don't want to just defund the police. Most of my neighbors don't just want to defund the police. Even the folks who wear the Black Lives Matter masks, who wear Black Lives Matter shirts. Look, in the Black community, those shirts are a little more ubiquitous than even the signs. You don't see the flags, you see a few flags here and there. Now a little more towards election season. But, you're going to see that kind of stuff. That doesn't mean those individuals even have the same understanding. Frankly, it doesn't mean they necessarily support the organization as a specific organization. You got to decide it's okay that somebody else is going to think something that you might not like, and you're not going to freak out. And when you do that, when you put that aside, when you put the need to be right, you put the need to have the last word, you put the need to not let anybody say anything bad about your president. You put all that away. You put it down. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that so much. I'm going to put Nick's comment up here just because it's very touching. It's very touching. You put those things down for a minute and listen. Have a conversation and keep your ears open. Because when you let people kind of talk their ideas out without combating them on every single point, and you start to listen, you'll get somebody who's like, oh, well, Trump does this and this, and I don't like how he's this way. And, I don't understand why this isn't happening. And, I think that, the country needs to go in this direction. And, this issue is really important to me. And before you know it, you're like, you know what? That issue is really important to me too, actually. I mean, I look at it a little bit differently. I'm a Republican. I look at it a little bit differently. But that is something that we, care a lot about. In fact, these are some of the bills we might want to pass on it. And frankly, I agree with you that the Republicans aren't doing. Try agreeing. One of the best things I've found to bridge the gap between someone on the left who just needs that one little ability to have a conversation, to break down that wall of, everybody on the right is crazy. I can't talk to any of them. They're horrible, evil people. And they just need that little crack, and all of a sudden you can see their face, and they're like, well, maybe you could, but most of it, we're conversating now. And I didn't realize that you were a human being just like me before you're having a conversation with somebody. And here, I'll tell you a story, and it's going to out me a little bit on something that people might get pissed off about. And I don't care. Let's just be Back in my Tea Party days, back in the days of the Tea Party, I was a more moderate position. I had a more moderate position on the pro-life issue. All right. I'm more of a first trimester, safe but legal, no second and third trimesters, and very much was more so that back in my Tea Party days, So full disclosure on that, and it's important to tell the story. So I'm at this Tea Party rally. We're sitting at this booth. This is in Chicago. We're sitting at our booth with our Tea Party rally there, and they have the Picasso statue. It's right, they're in Daily Plaza or whatever, where they have the Picasso statue and where we would often have rallies and nice big open space the public can use. And we're having the rally. We have a little booth set up near the sidewalk, and this man comes up, and he gets very mad at me and all the other people at the table, all the Tea Partiers. He starts yelling at us. He goes, "How dare you? How dare you tell my woman? How dare you tell?" No, he didn't say it. "How dare you tell my girlfriend what she can do with her body? How she should what? How dare you try to control her body and her choices?" And he just went on this feminist rant, right? My other more socially conservative, more pro-life, more vehemently pro-life. I wouldn't say extreme pro-life, but full term. Zero conception pro-lifers. There's who I'm talking about. They were, doing their pro-life arguments, which I think is great. It's great to give that people that perspective of life as conception, the understanding of the fetus and development and all of those things early on. I understand. That's a great conversation. But that didn't help the man get calm. How's it going, Lori? That didn't help the guy get calm. Right? That made him more mad because that was the fight he was looking for. And when I said, I heard him talking, and this is the point I'm making. You're listening to individuals, even in their frustration, maybe even in their anger. You're listening to people and finding that part of the conversation where you have common ground. We have common ground. And so I decided right there, I said, sir, I'm not pro-life. I'm pro-choice. That's what I said to the man. It was relatively true at the time. People age, we change our opinions, we change our positions. Thank you, Christy. Hey, Saria, how you doing? Good to see you. Saria knows. So I said, and he goes, he looked at me. Stop talking. He looked at me. And he walked away. He stopped yelling at everybody. So he walked away. 3 minutes later, comes back to the table. The guy comes back to the table, and he says to me, to the group, he goes, "I'm sorry." He apologized to us. This man who had been cussing us all out, screaming at us for being horrible women manipulative controllers. Okay? Came back and said, "I'm sorry. I made a bunch of assumptions." And I was wrong to do that. I didn't realize you guys are, and we got to talk to him we started talking about Tea Party principles and saying, look, we're all different in the Tea Party. We're not excluding you because you might have a more pro-choice opinion. This isn't a social movement. This is about fiscal conservatism. It's about constitutionalism. It's about those principles. It's about limiting the size of government. We're not going to pick and choose over which religion you are, or whether or not you're gay, or whether or not you fall a little off of the pro-life bandwagon. We made room. And we had a conversation with that man for about 45 minutes after that. After having that breakthrough moment. And what did it take? It took listening. How's it going, Lord? It took listening to that individual, hearing a place where he didn't understand we had common ground, and sharing that, finding that, breaking that narrative in him that we just disagree on everything. Every issue that's super important to me, you hate. That's not true. That's not true about any two people on earth. That is not true about any two human beings on the face of the planet. Every two human beings, give me any two human beings, any two human beings, they have something in common. If nothing else, they both breathe, right? If nothing else, they both breathe, okay? They probably both came out of their mama's tummies. You know, we have some things we can share common ground on, and that's something that is so important in these urban environments. It's one of the things we do. So we had a great day today. I went down to a meet and greet with a candidate, an independent candidate here for ward council member Fred Hill. Fred had a wonderful event. He had a live band, had burgers, hot dogs, beverages, people hanging out, you know, and he got a chance to introduce Isaac Smith, you know, who is running for ANC. ANC is Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner. It is a board of nonpartisan, unpaid individuals who actually advise the council on neighborhood issues, and they do things like approve business licenses. And there's some, you know, pretty important things that they do, as well as being an advocate and an ally for the community. And Isaac is running for this position here in the ward. And, you know, Fred Hill got a chance to introduce Isaac and talk to folks about why Isaac is running and push back on some of that. You know, Isaac's a Republican. He's white. Why are you standing up with him, Fred? And Fred's like, well, because I think the kid has some merit, and I don't believe in this division and this lies and misinformation. We got to always be lockstep in, you know, we need unity. We need to come together. We need to build coalitions. And Fred Hill said something, and I think it was very, very moving. He said, you know, I put it out to all the ANC candidates to come and, you know, let's do stuff together. You know, we want to build those relationships. And Isaac, the only one who stepped up and said yes. So that's the kind of breakthroughs we make. It. So I thought we talk. My good friend Suzzanne, you know him from up in the Baltimore cleanup days and so many other things. He was up there. He had his, you know, he's a wonderful, wonderful, boisterous, really, what's the word I'm looking at? Just very effusive Black man. He's wearing his Trump 2020 hat and mask combo. And, you know, people are just, who grew up in the neighborhood. He knew people in the community, but they also just kind of accept you where you're at. And we have a wonderful group here in Facebook about my ward, and it's all people from the ward talking about all kinds of stuff. And yeah, we get into, you know, heated discussions, and they call they say a little, this and a little that. We get a little feisty about race issues. We get a little feisty about why is the white lady saying stuff. We get a little feisty about politics. But in the end, we're still having a good time. We're still having a conversation. We're not mad at each other. We're not upset. I haven't had to block that many people. I mean, DC is actually a far more ripe environment for having conversations with people and having dialogue and finding common ground. In fact, I got a chance to meet one of Isaac's competition, a woman named Robin McKinney. And she's also running for the seat that Isaac's running, and she's a wonderful lady. We make jokes on Facebook in the group. You know, we talk back and forth. We disagree on some things, but we also laugh at some shared things. She's a sweet, wonderful woman. I met her in person. She was very, very kind, very, very warm. And I said, you know, Robin, I want to thank you for running. You know, I say this to all candidates, but it takes a lot to run. It takes a real commitment to your community. It takes a lot of your time, money, effort. It takes away from your family. I appreciate it. I appreciate you doing that. You know, even though, you know, I'm an Isaac girl, you know, I'm going to vote for Isaac. She's like, oh, I know. Because we talked about it on the internet. And I'm like, but I just want to, you know, I think she's like, I appreciate that so much. And she's like, after the election, you know, let's talk about some stuff. And I'm like, anything I can do to help. And she's doing she's got a great promotion of really working to help take people in the community who have lived here, who are renting in the community, and help them get the opportunity, the mortgages, et cetera, and find property so they can become property owners here in the community where they rent, where they grew up, where they're raising their families. It's a beautiful thing. Who doesn't want that? I want that. I want that for myself. I want that for my neighbors. I want people here who are renting to be able to you know, increase their well-being. That's the opposite of gentrifying, actually. We don't want to make a whole bunch of fancy properties and move the rich people in from the Northwest side. We actually want to take people who have worked hard and earned their money and earned a little something in the neighborhood and help them come up a little more, help them get ownership so they can continue to have that investment and continue to grow in wealth here in the community. not be displaced by other people who are coming from the other neighborhoods, because now there's nice property and we have, Starbucks and Whole Foods and all the stuff that bougie people want. So it's great. I had a great conversation with her about that. And this is, I want to iterate, many of my neighbors, I walk out of my house wearing my gear. I don't think it's any secret in the neighborhood that I'm Suzzanne and that I, wear Trump hats and, I'm a Trump supporter. I really don't think that's any secret because I'm not hiding it in any way. And it's really hard to not be noticed if you're the only white lady. How's it going, Karen? So Leslie, how's it going? So, thank you. I know, Christy, right? Christy Freakin says that's great. There's no way that it's being, but for the most part, we don't bring it up with the neighbors. But this woman is someone who knows my politics. We've discussed it openly on the group. Everyone kind of outed me, and I just owned it. I was just like, yeah, look, my page is public. You're gonna go to my page and see I'm a huge Trump supporter. See I pound the Trump Bible as hard as anybody, right? We all know I'm acting like a mofo. As if to say that so. So, and I ain't hiding it. But that's exactly the same time I'm able to be kind, and the community is able to be kind. And these are my all black neighbors, you guys. You're being told a lie. I'm going to tell you the lie. You're being told that every black person is going to be so mad if they see you in a Trump hat, they're going to freak out. L-I-E. You know who freaks out when they see you in a Trump hat? White liberals. And particularly skinny white liberal women. The skinnier, they get more scared. They can be old white skinny women. Those can be a little chunkier, but usually kind of frumpy. But they get mad. Those are the ones you need to worry about. Okay. The average black person, they see you in the black, most of them ain't gonna say nothing. They don't say anything all the time. In fact, there's a lot more folks here that support the president that just don't think he's doing that bad of a job and just don't want to make a big issue about it than you think. And there's certainly a lot more folks who respect standing up, who respect, just owning who you are. You don't have to be a dick about it, but we stand up for ourselves, have a little bit of spine. Hey, Carol, how's it going? Hey, Ray. Just be cool. Be a nice person. But don't back down. You know what I'm saying? Be friendly, but wear your hat. You know what I'm saying? This is what we're doing over here in the city. And guess what? It's making a difference. You guys, it's making a difference. We're building those coalitions. You start to have conversations with people who know who you are, who know who your politics are, and it's okay. Now, I admit that was a lot harder to do in Chicago, where they drove me out of the city because I had something to lose. I had a business they could attack. It's a little easier because obviously I'm an activist. There's a lot less things that they can go after here. They can't get me kicked out of my job. I make nutcrackers. You can't really kick me out of that. So the reality is, I've got less to lose perhaps, but what I'm telling you is regardless of what you bring coming to the table, a little bit of guts and just some respectful being yourself. I'm okay, you're okay. Let's find common ground. That's going to be the change that this country needs. That's going to be the thing that brings the Democrat Party back from the brink of communism. That's going to bring us all back from this destruction and this division we see everywhere. What's going to bring it back isn't going down to protests and yelling at the liberals with their signs, you guys. I got to be honest. I know it's fun. I know it's fun to call the trolls names. Trust me. Oh my God. I know it's fun. I know. And I'm not telling you all how to do anything ever, and I never will. But what I will say is what I think is more effective is a dialogue about common ground, about common issues, about bridging the gap. I think that's what we're doing in the urban conservative movement. I think that's what us Trump supporters here in the city are doing. We're smiling. We're friendly. We're ambassadors for the president. Every time I put on this hat. Every time I put on this hat. I'm an ambassador. But I'm an ambassador that isn't going to take off the hat because it pisses somebody off. Someone's going to yell at me. I go, have a nice day. Have a nice day. So I would suggest to everyone, especially my urban conservatives, and to folks that are living out in the country, maybe, when you come to a city, when you come to DC, in fact, let me just say this straight out. To all you I call you oots just because I don't want to say out of towners all the time. All you oots. To folks who come to DC and you come to see the protests and you come to go down to Black Lives Matter Plaza and you come to see the little radical lefties that get so angry and you're like, oh, you run whenever you see somebody like screaming Black Lives Matter and they're yelling at patriots doing something, you run towards this anger. And you yell back. You call them names, they call you. I understand it's fun. I call it protest tourism. Okay, what you're doing is protest tourism. But you're missing out on the fun. You're missing out on the experience. You're having the left's experience. You're falling into their experience trap. You think you're acting as if the city is like a theme park for leftism, and you're going to come see, the monsters and the ghoulies and whatever. But that's not what it is. It's a farm for the future of our country. These urban environments are a fertile soil upon which the seeds of our future have been planted. And it grows when you water it. It grows when you plant more seeds. The crop gets bigger when you plant more seeds, not when you go around stomping on the soil and ripping seeds out of the ground. So when you come to the city, thank you, Don. When you come to the city, particularly when you come to my city, I'm going to invite you to have a different experience. I'm going to invite you to have a not protest tourism, okay? Patriot tourism. Find that crumb of patriotism in folks on the street. Find what happens when you wear your MAGA hat in the street and you say hello to people. How you doing? Ma'am, I like your shoes. You're looking good today, folks. Nice family. Be nice, be kind, make friends, just like you would. And if somebody says F Trump, say have a nice day and move on. Move on to the next person. And what you're going to find again and again, you're going to find people relate to you and they appreciate you and you're going to have great conversation. When we go down to Harry's bar, I know so many folks down there who don't like the president. They tell me that, I didn't vote for the president. I wouldn't vote for the president. I'm like, well, that's all right. But we talk about other things. We talk about frustrations we share about the mayor. We talk about frustrations we share about Congress. We talk about other issues that are common ground, and we're friends and we hug. And let me tell you something that's so amazing, that's breaking that barrier, that's destroying this Democrat divide, that you were also mad about, the things that burning down cities and destroying our kids and the hate and division we're hearing constantly. The thing that's breaking that, all right, is when me and my MAGA hat and my Trump 2020 shirt, okay, walk into a bar where the guy there, everybody knows he's a Democrat who hates Trump. All right. And I walk in and I go, hey, my friend, how's it going? He's like, hey, they give me a big hug. Or, hey, my friend, she gives me a big hug. We right there in that moment, we show everyone in that room we're about human unity. We're one nation. It's a beautiful thing. That's why I love going there. That's why I love going there. If y'all come to DC, I hope you come to Harry's. I know. Thank you, Janet. Janet says the debate's getting ready to start. I just got the mute button on Kamala. I should probably go take a look at that soon myself. But you guys, we're going to be talking about this issue more. What I want you to understand is that these cities, these urban environments, they are ripe for this kind of patriotism. They are ripe for this kind of conservatism. And when you come to the city, I ask you, don't come to the city to yell at the left. Come to the city to be an ambassador for the right values, for the president, for our American first principles. Have conversations that find common ground. Prove to yourself that you can wear this hat in the middle of a city and meet people who disagree with you, but can still find agreement on this, on the Constitution, on the flag, on the love of our country, on shared human issues. And that's going to change your life. That's going to change our country. That's going to change this party, and it's going to change the Democrat Party. That is what will make America great again. So that's our show for today, folks. I'm going to let you watch the debate. I'm going to take a peek in myself as long as I can tolerate Kamala Harris. Hopefully that won't be, it probably won't be more than a minute or two. But, thanks for tuning in. Continue to share. Continue to do the great work. Continue to reach across. Continue to tell yourself the truth, to find the truth, that we have more in common as human beings than we ever do as division. We will destroy this division together, my patriots. You and I, or just a little bit of love. And love of our country trumps the hate of the left every single time. Until next time, y'all, this is your girl, Suzzanne Monk.